Invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by Councilmember Frank Harrison.
Let us pray. Let us now praise the Lord, for he is good, for his mercies endureth forever. Lord, let us be an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. Help us to realize that it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to new life. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of our June 14th meeting? Is there a second? Without objection, the minutes will stand approved. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
No, ma'am, there are not.
Thank you. We have two presentations this evening. The first one is Council Lady Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to ask my guest, Mr. Eddie Bryan, and his lovely wife, Miss Mary Bryan, to please join me here at the podium. And all those who co-sponsored the legislation with me, Buddy Baker, Walter Hunt, and all of you, if you can come and join us. A resolution recognizing Eddie L. Bryan upon his retirement from the Tennessee AFL-CIO. Whereas Eddie has served with distinction for 30 years as Secretary-Treasurer of the Tennessee AFL-CIO Labor Council. On August 17th, he will enter into a well-deserved retirement. And whereas Mr. Eddie L. Bryan was united in marriage to Mary, his soulmate, for 38 years. Whereas, during this remarkable 30-year tenure as Secretary-Treasurer, Eddie Bryan has been in charge of maintaining proper and adequate financial records to show the standings of all affiliated organizations of the source and disposition of all funds. Mr. Bryan has spent many long days and nights during the General Assembly on labor issues that benefit working families of Tennessee. And whereas, to show his appreciation for being allowed to serve as Secretary-Treasurer to the Tennessee AFL-CIO, Mr. Bryan has started the Eddie Bryan Scholarship Fund, contributing all monies himself. Mr. Bryan presented his first annual $5,000 scholarship 5 years ago and continues today. And whereas Mr. Bryan, throughout his career with the Tennessee AFL-CIO Council, Mr. Bryan is to be commended for his timeless efforts and will be missed for his leadership, dedication, and professionalism. Whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognizes Eddie L. Bryan for his many years of astute service and to extend to him our heartfelt wishes for a happy and fulfilling retirement and every continued success in the future. At this time, Councilman Baker will present the resolution to Mr. Bryan.
Thank you, buddy.
Mr. Bryan, you're recognized.
Edith, thank you, and Lady Mayor, and all the councilmen. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. It's been an honor for me. I've served on so many different boards with Metro that I almost felt like I was up here quite often for many years, just visiting for the agencies that I represent. And of course, many of you know that I'm on the Election Commission now, and I think I'll be there till 13. So it'll be fun. I have one request, though. I understand tonight there's a possibility that you all might do something for those that work hard for us at the Election Commission, those workers at the poll. We've asked that you all consider the raises we have asked to give the people that work. They work hard. They work 12 hours plus a day when they're working for us, and they're working for you too, and they're great people, and we need your help on that. And so I want to thank each and every one of you again for this. It means a great deal to me, and I'll be around. Just because I'm retiring don't mean I'm gone. Thank you.
The next presentation is by Councilman Crafton. Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm happy to be standing before you to honor a family that's meant so much to this community. Actually, being a native Nashvilleian, I've always enjoyed the Warner Park system. I played my first round of golf at Percy Warner, and one afternoon, I was going through the parks, Edwin Warner, with my daughter, and we looked at the plaque, and I said, well, you know, I'd really like to meet the family that's made all this possible. And so here are some representatives. I'm going to read about half, and then maybe Carter or Emily or Charlie can read half. Just like to honor this family and what they've done for this city. It's just such a unique thing that we have to have a 2,800-acre park in the middle of an urban community. So we're really blessed with that, and we appreciate the vision of that family. This is a resolution recognizing and honoring the families of Colonel Luke Lee, Percy Warner, and Edwin Warner for their vision and leadership through the expansion of park property in Nashville, Metropolitan Davidson County. Whereas spanning a total of 2,800 acres, Percy Warner Park and Edwin Warner Park, collectively known as the Warner Parks, are two of Nashville's most significant and popular recreational, natural, and historical properties, offering activities such as hiking, nature trails, scenic overlooks, golf courses, and equestrian facilities. And whereas, as the chair of the Nashville Board of Park Commissioners, Percy Warner directed the first professional efforts to devise a comprehensive park plan for the city, which envisioned a series of large natural parks ringing the central urban areas. And whereas the Warner Parks were established in 1927 with the initial donation of 868 acres of land by Colonel and Mrs. Luke Lee, and whereas after Percy Warner's death in 1927, Colonel Lee requested that the land be named in honor of his father-in-law, Percy Warner, and whereas in 1927, Edwin Warner succeeded his older brother, Percy, on the park board and later served as its chair from 1937 through 1945, and while serving on the park board, personally directed development of the most Warner Park acreage. And, you want to continue? Carter? Yeah, thank you.
Whereas Edwin Warner in 1930 donated the funds to purchase and initiate development of park property southwest of Old Hickory Boulevard, which was later named Edwin Warner Park in his honor. And whereas after the parks were established, other members of the Warner family made significant donations of land and money for the parks, including Mrs. Edwin Warner, Mrs. Percy Warner, and Mrs. William Milbury Warner Waller. And whereas the parks were named to the National Register of Historic Places in 1984, and the Warner Parks Historic Landmark District was designated in 1999.
Whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognizes the families of Colonel Luke Lee, Percy Warner, and Edwin Warner for the contributions they have made in affording opportunities for families to reconnect with nature. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. The Metropolitan Council hereby goes on record as recognizing and honoring the families of Colonel Luke Lee, Percy Warner, and Edwin Warner for their vision and leadership through the expansion of park property in the Nashville area. The Metropolitan Council office is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution and it be presented to Mary Louise Lee Tidwell, Laura Lee Knox, and Edwin Warner Bass on behalf of their extended families. This resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption, the welfare of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County requiring it.
Thank you all very much. I'm Elizabeth Knox. This is my nephew, Will Rubino, my sister, Lil Rubino. We represent a fraction of the Lee and Warner families in Nashville, and we are thrilled with this resolution. It gave us a chance to get the history right because my grandfather was inspired by visiting two parks, Rock Creek in Washington, D.C., and Swoop Park in Kansas City. And we are very blessed that he was able to do this. And for all people who visit the park day in, day out, from wherever you live, you are doing what he envisioned, and that's enjoying nature. So thank you so much. We're very appreciative.
We're now at the point on our agenda for elections and confirmations. Councilmember Birch.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Rules and confirmations considered a number of appointments and reappointments today. First was the Action Commission. The reappointment of Ms. Karen Doty was deferred. The reappointment of Robert Stockard Jr. Committee recommended approval 8-4-0 against. I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Birch.
Next, the Agriculture Extension Board, the reappointment of Mr. Steve Butler. This was deferred. Airport Authority, reappointment of Mr. Jacko Bovender Jr. This was deferred. Arts Commission, appointment of Mr. Zach Lift. Committee recommended approval 8-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Birch.
Next was the Community Corrections Advisory Board, the reappointment of Mr. Steve Young. Committee recommended approval 8-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Birch.
Next is Electrical Examiner and Appeals Board, the appointment of Ms. Londa Hardcastle Morgan. Committee recommended approval 8-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next was the Farmers Market Board, and we considered two reappointments, Dr. Alicia Batson and Mr. Joshua Smith. Committee recommended approval 8-4-0 against for both reappointments, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next was the Fire and Building Code Appeals Board. Reappointment of Mr. Michael Bearden was deferred. Next was Nashville Education, Community, and Arts Television, the appointment of Ms. Jennifer Buck Wallace. Committee recommended approval 8-4-0 against. I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next, for the Planning Commission, the appointment of Mr. Jeff Haynes. Committee recommended approval 8-4-0 against. I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Birch?
Next was the Plumbing Examiners and Appeals Board. Reappointment of Mr. Edward Galbraith was deferred.
Councilman?
Next was the Transit Authority, the reappointment of Ms. Marion T. Ott. Committee recommended approval 8-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
That concludes the appointments.
Thank you, Councilman Birch. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Robert Stockard, Zach Liff, Stephen Young, Londa Hardcastle Morgan, Dr. Alicia Batson, Joshua Smith, Jennifer Buck Wallace, Jeff Haynes, and Marion Ott. Second. On behalf of the Metro Council, I'd like to thank you for your willingness to serve. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda are resolutions, and we can take 1673, 1674, and 1675 together without objection. Are you objecting, Councilmember Gilmore? Okay. RS 2011-1673 approves an amendment to the pay plan for general employees of the Metropolitan Government. RS 2011-1674 approves an amendment to a pay plan for employees of Metropolitan Government Fire and Police Departments. RS 2011-1675 approves an amendment to the pay plan for employees of the Metropolitan Board of Health. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Budget and Finance Committee approved all of them, 14-4-0 against. And I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1706 authorizes the issuance, sale, and payment of general obligation refunding bonds. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Budget and Finance Committee met and voted 14-4-0 against. I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I have a quick question for Rich, Mr. Evelyn, I'm sorry. On the general obligation bonds, are there any intentions of having minority participation? If they are, could you tell me who, if they've already been assigned? If there's not, will there be any consideration given by the administration?
Councilman, yes, there is included in the underwriting team will be a minority firm. It'll be Loop Capital is the name of the firm. They've been involved in a number of Nashville Metro deals in the last few years and are a wholly owned minority firm and have done an excellent job of selling bonds for us. If I might add, there also will be some minority legal counsel, a minority owned legal firm will do some of the bond work on this as well.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Yeah, those are excellent questions. I just want to ask you, Mr. Rebling, do you know what portion of the entire value of the bond would be provided to those minority who could be participating in this particular opportunity?
We've not actually done the division of the liabilities on it yet. It's often done based on the firm's capital underwriting ability, and that's usually done a little closer to the pricing on the bonds. But it'll be a significant portion of the deal.
Super. Thank you.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. What I would like, and I'm not a bond expert, but maybe the next time we do a bond issue, and the state may be doing this. I wish that we could at least put some of the bonds up for citizens of Nashville and give them the first crack at these instead of giving them to the trading houses, to make the money on the uptick as soon as they're launched. I'd love to see, Nashvillians get a chance first. And you may have an idea on how to do that, or maybe we can. I don't know.
Well, every transaction, we always have a retail order period that's first, that have priority of orders. So anyone in Nashville who wants to buy the bonds can contact one of the underwriters and an individual. It can't be a company, but it's an individual who wants to place a retail order for bonds, has first priority to those bonds and can access them.
Now, you said retail price. Does that mean can I get the bond at the same price the trading house is getting it at?
Yes, sir. The bonds will be priced at the same rate. Yes, sir.
And what are the denominations that I can buy one at?
These would be in $5,000 increments.
Okay, good, thanks.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1707 approves an economic and community incentive grant between Metro Government, the Industrial Development Board, Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency, and IQT, Inc. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance approved 14-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1708 sets a public hearing to be held at the Tuesday, August 2nd, 2011 council meeting in regard to the proposed acquisition of public improvements and the easement of cost, assessment of cost against the owners of properties within the Biltmore Ridges development. Councilmember Mitchell.
Move approval.
Committee report, Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance approved 14-4, 0 against.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1709 approves an application for a state juvenile accountability block grant to juvenile court. Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance approved 14-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1710 approves an annual state grant to juvenile court to provide case management and family support services to children at high risk. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to approve 14-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1711 approves an amendment to an annual state grant to juvenile court to enforce federal and state mandated child support program guidelines. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1712 approves an application for the Encouraging Innovation Field-Initiated Programs Grant from the federal government to the Sheriff's Department. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. Public Safety approved 4-4, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1713 approves an application for a state grant to provide funding for an aftercare counselor at the drug court. Councilmember Langster.
Committee report.
Councilmember Berry.
And Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Public Safety approved 4-4, 0 against. I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1714 approves a state grant to the state trial courts for interpreter services for indigent defendants. Councilmember Langster.
Committee report.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Public Safety approved 4-4, 0 against. I move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1715 approves an amendment to a state grant to divert felony offenders from the Tennessee prison system by providing community supervision and treatment services. Councilmember Langster.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance took no action on this.
Councilmember Langster.
Public Safety approved 4-0 against. I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now on RS 2011-1716, approves an application for the Paul Coverdale Forensic Science Improvement Grant to the Metro Police Department to improve the quality and timeliness of forensic science and medical examiner services. Councilmember Langster.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Public Safety approved 4-0 against. I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1717 approves an application for the Federal Cops Hiring Recovery Grant to hire 50 additional police officers. Councilmember Langster.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Vice Mayor, Public Safety approved 4-0 against. I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2011-1718, approves an application for a grant from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to the Metro Social Services Commission to provide transportation to eligible seniors and handicapped residents in Davidson County. Councilmember Forcum.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted to approve 3-4-0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1719 approves an amendment to a state grant to the Metro Health Department for the implementation of a diabetes project and add an addendum to a scope of service to include an end-of-program 3-day camp at Vanderbilt University. Councilmember Forcum.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted to approve 3-4-0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1720 approves a state grant to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs and deliver services to prepare youth for re-entry into the labor force. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Toller.
Personnel voted 8-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1721 approves an amendment to a state grant from the Tennessee Stormwater Association to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to assist with the cost of implementing green technology at the McCabe Park Community Center. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Maynard.
Parks approved 5-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1722 authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to exercise an option to purchase property for use in the Mill Creek Greenway system. Councilmember Page.
Thank you. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Gatto.
Planning and Zoning approved 8-4-0 against.
Councilmember Maynard.
Parks approved 5-4-0 against.
Councilmember Page.
Thank you. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1723 approves an intergovernmental agreement between Metro and the City of Belle Meade concerning street paving in connection with water line replacement along and near Belle Meade Boulevard. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works voted to approve, 6 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1724 approves an application for a state hazard mitigation grant, which authorizes Metro Water Services to acquire 22 homes and 2 vacant lots within various floodplains and floodways in Davidson County. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Could we have the committee reports, please?
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works voted to approve, 6 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We have 3 late filed resolutions. Councilman Hodge, yours is first. What is the nature of the emergency?
Due to late notice received from the state and a requirement that it be back in as of yesterday or the earliest point thereafter is the nature of the emergency.
Any objection? The resolution approves a state grant to the Department of Public Works for the purpose of collecting and disposing of waste tires. Councilman Hodge.
Committee reports. Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Forcum, yours is next. The nature of the emergency.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There was a letter in our analysis from Dr. Paul from the Metro Board of Health explaining the nature of this emergency. It's part of the CPPW program, and basically due to circumstances beyond their control, they weren't signed in time to get them on tonight's agenda. So.
Okay. Any objection? This resolution approves a contract to the Metro Board of Health and the Good Food for Good People Incorporated to focus on creating a supportive, compelling training environment to support an intentional readaptation of gardening for health food security. Councilman Forcum.
Committee reports. Just ask.
Do you have one? Okay.
Yeah.
We do, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to approve 8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Sure. Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospital voted approved 3-4, 0 against. And I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Forcum, I'm assuming the next one is the same.
These 2 contracts are related, yes.
Okay, the second one from Councilman Forcum approves a contract to the Metro Board of Health and Good Food for Good People Incorporated to fund the acquisition of 2 wireless supplemental nutrition assistant program electronic benefits transfer machines. Councilman Forcum.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 8-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted approved 3-4, 0 against, and I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Is there a motion for their approval? Councilmember Wilhoit?
No, it's not in reference to the bills on first reading, but Vice Mayor, I would like to have a point of personal privilege, please.
Is it on bills on first reading?
No, it's not. That's what I was saying. It's not in reference to that.
We'll deal with this right now.
No problem.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilmember Wilhoit?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I know, council members, we've been having an intern that's been helping the staff out over the summer. And tonight is going to be her last night to be with us. And her name, of course, is Alexis Obasowie. And we just appreciate you being here. Alexis, you're an outstanding student. And if we could just give her a round of applause, she'll be going back to school, and thank you.
Okay, we are now at bills on second reading. The first one is BL 2010, amends the Metro Code to prohibit persons serving on Metro government boards and or commissions from engaging in lobbying activity. Councilmember Holland.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Birch.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Rules and Confirmations voted to withdraw 8-4-0 against at the request of the sponsor.
Thank you. Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to defer indefinitely.
To defer or withdraw?
Move to defer indefinitely.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-835 amends the Metro Code to eliminate the minimum charge for livery services. Councilman Crafton.
Committee report.
Councilmember Page.
Transportation and Aviation voted to, or deferred 3-4-0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Defer.
Public Safety moved to defer one meeting.
Councilmember Ryman.
Convention and Tourism Committee moved to defer one meeting, 9-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to defer 13-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilman Crafton.
I'd like to defer it indefinitely. Can I do that, or do I need to stick with the one meeting? I'll defer indefinitely so we can work on this more.
We have a motion and a second for indefinite deferral. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Indefinite deferral passes. Next is BL 2011-916, amends the Metro Code pertaining to the licensing and operation of valet services within the area of Metro government. Councilman Stein.
Committee reports.
Councilman Birch.
Traffic and Parking voted to approve 4-0 against.
Councilman Stein.
I would move approval, and there is an amendment.
Would you like to move the amendment?
I move the amendment, and Madam Vice Mayor, the amendment does three things. It provides a definition of designees so that the Traffic and Parking Commission can have some folks in Public Works administer some of this. It also relaxes some of the requirements to make it easier for businesses to actually comply in the information that they have to give to the department. And so I would move the amendment.
Have a motion and second. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes.
With that, I move approval.
We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2011-938, amends the Metro Code pertaining to the authorized use of Metro government vehicles. Councilman Tiger.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Page.
Transportation and Aviation Committee approved 3 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Tiger.
I would move approval with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second.
As we all know, we had an elected official who was videotaped stopping in at a liquor store and picking up items while driving a Metro vehicle. And while that may have been a lapse of judgment, it was not against Metro code. So this bill codifies the policies and procedures of the General Services Department and will make sure that all of our elected officials and anyone driving Metro cars knows that a breach of these policies is not merely a lapse in judgment, it will be against the law. Thank you.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yeah, Mr. Jones, can I ask you a question about the analysis? There are several points that it's making very clear what's illegal to do in a Metro vehicle. On the analysis, the last bullet point, could you share that last bullet point with the council?
The last bullet point which shows what is being codified, is transporting any political campaign literature or other matter, or to engage in soliciting votes, or to transport any person or persons soliciting votes in any election or primary. That is one of the prohibited activities.
Yeah, and this bill came to the committee I was on, Transportation. I voted for it. I totally agree. I totally agree you should not use your public vehicle to run errands, or, as was in this news report, go to the liquor store, nor should you use your position in office to use a government vehicle for political purposes, especially when you mislead one of our judges who is using a drug court in our community for campaigns.
Please stay on this bill.
You know, the bottom line of this, ladies and gentlemen, bottom line, ladies and...
Thank you, Mr. Craddock. You're welcome. Mr. Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I just fail to see what the relevance is to this bill, and if you could make a ruling on whether or not we're going to let this go on.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about should be on your desk from the 20th Judicial District, from the trial court administrator, laying it out where a member of this body abused his office.
Councilman.
In using people who were sentenced to public service work for a campaign event. So I urge you all to vote for this bill, because I think it definitely needs to be codified because of the clear abuses of people within our own body. Thank you.
Councilman Ryman. We have a motion for previous question and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Previous question passes. We're back on BL 2011-938. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-939 amends the Metro Code to exempt non-projectile cannons and rifles used as part of an outdoor memorial service or commemoration from the definition of fireworks. Councilmember Gatto.
Committee report.
Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Safety approved 4-0 against.
Councilman Gatto.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
You're taking care of me, Minnie.
BL 2011-941 authorizes the Industrial Development Board to negotiate and accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes for the benefit of Carlex Glass America, LLC. Councilmember Baker.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Berry. Would you like your microphone?
Sure. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against.
Councilman Baker.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-942 approves an agreement between Metro Government and AT&T Tennessee related to the construction of the Gateway Boulevard extension. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works voted to approve, 6 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Wilhoit.
Yes, I'd like to be recorded as recusing myself from this vote, please.
So noted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-944 approves an amendment to a contract between the Metro Government and Ovations Food Services, LP, for food and beverage services. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Ryman.
Commission Tourism Committee voted 9-4, 0 against for approval.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-946 authorizes the Director of Public Property to accept a quitclaim deed for Academy Square, Inc. to Metro Government for a certain parcel of property. Councilmember Gilmore.
Committee reports.
Councilman Gatto.
Planning and zoning approved, 8-4, against.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved, 5 in favor, 0 against, 1 abstaining, and I request that my vote be recorded as an abstention.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-947 authorizes the acquisition of a 100-square-foot easement for an upgrade to the Munn Road Pump Station turnaround. Councilmember Stanley.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Gatto.
Planning and zoning approved, 8-4, against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works voted to approve, 6 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Stanley.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-950 authorizes the Industrial Development Board to negotiate and accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes for benefit of Standard Candy Company. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve, 12-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on third reading. The first one is BL 2011-895, changes 182.38 acres from R10 to RS10, zoning for various properties located along Bel Air Drive, Catalina Drive, Cornett Drive, Curry Road, McGavock Pike, and Vinson Drive. Councilmember Birch.
This is going to be handled by Councilman Dominy, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Councilman Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There's amendment. We have some properties opted out. Is there a committee report? We did a committee report on second reading, I thought.
It already has a committee report.
That's what I thought. Don, could you share what the amendment is?
The amendment eliminates 11 additional properties of folks who have asked to be let out.
Okay. I move the amendment.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wondered, I noticed that it was disapproved by the Planning Commission. Does that amendment take care of some of the concerns that the Planning Commission raised?
Councilman Dominy.
What that amendment does is allow all the residents that wanted to opt out to opt out, so those parcels are not included in the rezoning. The concern of the Planning Commission was that it would prohibit additional duplexes in the area, and they were concerned that that would limit the affordable housing. They did not take into consideration the numerous duplexes that are already across the street not included in this area, or this particular rezoning. There's a number of duplexes already in that area, so I'm going to move approval.
Okay, Councilman Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I rise to explain a little bit about what this is about. This is a bill that is not unlike many bills that have been passed both the last term and this term. And what the council members are trying to do, they're trying to go in and downzone property for neighbors that want their neighborhoods to not allow duplexes in the neighborhood. So this is a move from R zoning to RS, single family, and as has been the case every other time we've done this, they have allowed those individuals that want to retain the R zoning so that if they want to build a duplex on their property, they can. They are allowing them to keep this. So the staff recommended approval of this over at the Planning Commission, and for the life of me, I don't know why my compadres over there voted against this, but this is a good bill, and I'd urge you to support it. It is what the neighborhood wants, and again, they are trying to be responsive to their neighbors, and they're doing this in response to community demand and request. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second, and this will need to be a machine vote, and it will require 27 votes. Has everyone voted? Madam Clerk?
Ayes 31, no 0, 4 abstentions.
Motion passes. Next is BL 2011-903, amends the Metro Code to require written notification to property owners when their property is included in a floodway or floodplain for the first time. Councilman Coleman?
Thank you, Vice Mayor Davis. I want to move for approval, but I have an amendment.
You'd like to move the amendment?
Yes, I'd like to move the amendment. Mr. Jones, would you give us an explanation of the amendment?
Is principally housekeeping. It provides, essentially the change is, it specifically provides for the notice to be sent to the address that's on the records or tax rolls when notice is being sent out. So it's just a housekeeping amendment.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move the amendment.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment passes. Councilman Coleman?
I'd like to move the bill as amended.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the bill as amended, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-912 amends the Metro Code establishing an Office of Administration Hearing Officer. Councilman Tygart?
I move approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Wilhoit?
I just want to stand in support of this legislation. I know we need to vote on it, but I was waiting for the brief explanation to come. But I just want to say, please support this legislation. This is going to help with some of the eyesores is in my district as well. And this is going to definitely address those repeated offenders because the present fee right now is not enough to get their attention. And this will do it on a number of properties that's in the district and all around Davidson County for repeated offenders. So I ask for your vote on this.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-913 adopts the operating budget of the Metropolitan Government for fiscal year 2011-2012. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to approve 14-4-0 against, and I'd like to move approval of the substitute first.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. Councilman Stein?
And I'd like a brief explanation.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. I want to thank all of the members of the Budget and Finance Committee who came to many meetings and many hearings that we've had over these last several weeks. Those include Councilmember Baker, Bennett, Cole, Craddock, Forcom, Garrett, Hodge, Langster, Maynard, Moore, Page, Ryman, Stein, and Tygart. We also had several members of the council not on the committee who pretty consistently came to all the hearings as well. That would be Councilmember Claiborne, Toller, Coleman, and Wilhoit. Thank you. I also want to thank all the department heads and their staffs for coming and presenting to us. I especially want to thank council staff, including John Cooper, Don Jones, Mike Curl, Elise Waller, and Roseanne Hayes, for making sure that everyone was where they needed to be and we had the information that we needed to move forward. I'd also like to thank the finance staff, especially Talia Lomax O'Neill, who is somewhere back behind the curtain, and Finance Director Rich Riebling for all of their help. Last and certainly not least, I would like to thank Vice Mayor Neighbors for appointing me as Budget and Finance Chair and for her continued support. Okay, so before you today, you have for your consideration the council budget that we have proposed. Many council members were passionate about departments and services, and we were able to fund some of those requests. Some of the highlights include adding one assistant public defender, restoring a position in the juvenile court clerk's office, funding for probation officers for the juvenile court, restoring an animal control position in the health department, funding for the historical commission, the arts commission, the election commission, the human relations commission, and the general services and trial courts, to name a few. We were able to make this happen by adjusting the benefits contingency account. Since the first projection, the Finance Department has been advised by our actuary that actual rates will be less than projected, and we were able to access those funds. The council budget also provides an additional $3.5 million increase to Metro Public Schools. A revenue increase from the state due to student growth will provide $2 million of that. An additional $1.5 million will be transferred from the school's debt service fund to the school's operating fund. Council members wanted to make sure that our citizens had storm debris and brush removal addressed, as well as the implementation creation of a vacant lot cleanup program. I'm happy to say that through the hard work of Public Works, Mr. Billy Lynch, along with Phil Ryan at MDHA, Scott Potter at Metro Water, we have found the resources we need to do both of those programs. Finally, if we pass this budget with the recommended resolutions, our general government employees, along with our police and our fire employees and health, will receive a 1.5% pay supplement. I wish it could be more in recognition of all the hard work that these employees do for us day after day. While there were some requests and wishes that we could not fund, my hope is that through this process, we were able to put together a budget that council members can support. And with that, I renew my motion to approve. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. Councilman Stein.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I would add to that our thanks to Councilwoman Berry for leading a process that was open and transparent and allowed all of us that wanted to participate as fully as we wanted to, sometimes on and on and on. And I thank you for that. Also, I guess it'd be remiss if I didn't also express gratitude to our staff who supports us. And I hope John Cooper is watching us at home and is proud that we have gotten through this. We're delighted Mr. Jones is here, but I'm not sure that John thought we could all get through this without him, and we have, John, and we hope we did you proud. This budget completes a couple of years of this mayor and this council's attempt and commitment to try to get this community through the worst economic downturn we will ever face, and still keep this community moving forward. And I think we have succeeded in doing that. There are three areas I'm particularly proud of in this budget, and that's our continued commitment to children and youth. And that's obviously exemplified through our funding of the public school system, but it's also exemplified by this council's commitment to the after-school program that is so successful that we're going to be able to expand it into another area of the city in this coming year. And that's a pretty significant thing because it's showing great results for young people. And of course, the third thing I'm proud of is that we could find the resources to put the 2 probation officers back into the budget. There are about 1,000 or so kids over the course of the next year whose lives are going to be better, theirs and their family and this community, because we've done that. Also proud of our commitment to public safety. We're continuing our commitment to making this community as safe as we can. And last but not least, because I've been so well educated by my district colleagues, I am delighted we are able to do something about the brush and the vacant lot program. What's less than satisfying, though, in this budget is that our employees who do so much with less and seemingly less, they were only able to do the 1.5% bonus. Clearly, this community can't go on much longer without identifying them as major cogs in which makes this community move forward and operate on a daily basis. And we've got to do better for them in the future. Thank you.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to stand as well and say I appreciate Council Lady Berry's leadership. I was here at quite a few of those meetings, and she did a wonderful job. Additionally, she followed up. She worked really hard and followed up, and for any questions that we had, discussed the budget with us offline. So I greatly appreciate that so that we could articulate that well to our constituents. So once again, I just want to thank you for your leadership and your patience and just the follow-up. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
I, too, stand in support of Council Lady Megan Berry, and I think she did an excellent job. I appreciate, although I was not on the Budget Committee, allowing other committee members, such as myself, to have input and also to provide their priorities and number them in the last committee meeting. I really appreciate that input and making it all-inclusive, but I would not expect anything less from Councilmember Megan Berry. And I also just want to just say again, thank you, and maybe we should just give her a round of applause. How about that?
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move approval.
We have a motion and a second on the bill as substituted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-914 adopts the property tax levy for the metropolitan government for fiscal year 2011-2012. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This was referred back to Budget and Finance. We approved 11-4-0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-917 deletes ordinance number BL 207-1460 in its entirety and transfers the employees of the Homelessness Commission to the Department of Social Services. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-940 amends the Metro Code pertaining to the construction of structures within the floodway. Councilman Forcom.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Seeing all committee reports in, I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-943 authorizes Omni National LLC to construct and maintain an underground encroachment in the rights-of-way of 4th Avenue South and 5th Avenue South. Councilman Hodge.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-945 abandons easement rights in 7 existing waters, sanitary sewer, and stormwater easements located between Franklin Street and DeMombrian Street, 4th Avenue South and 5th Avenue South. Councilman Hodge.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1705 requests the Davidson County delegation to allow Metro government to provide an opportunity for local bidders to match the lowest bid in the award of procurement contracts, as well as to include price as a factor in awarding professional services contracts. Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to move to defer indefinitely.
Budget and Finance.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to defer indefinitely, 8-4-0 against.
Thank you, Councilman Crafton.
And Vice Mayor, before I move this, I want to say I need a point of personal privilege when we finish these, if I may. I'll move to defer.
We have a motion for indefinite deferral and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2011-1725, expresses the Metro Council's desire to be regularly updated as to the lobbying efforts by the mayor and his administration concerning legislation pending in the Tennessee General Assembly. Councilman Crafton.
Committee report.
Councilman Gatto, rules.
Rules confirmation deferred by rule.
Thank you, Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, and I'll move to defer and then ask for that point of personal privilege. Thank you.
We have a motion to defer. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, point of personal privilege, Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'll make it brief. I didn't do this earlier because we were moving through. A lot of people, and it's back on the budget. I know it's irregular, but I want to say something because some folks are here and I think it needs to be said. I introduced an amendment to the pay plan, as everybody knows, to basically take all that money and divide it by the number of employees. And basically what this would have done would have taken a $20,000 a year person who would have gotten $300 and raised them up to about $670. The $50,000 a year person would have lost about $50. That seems like a good idea, and I'm in favor of that. Yesterday at Budget and Finance, it was voted down 10 and nobody could support it. Well, I want to explain why, because a lot of folks thought it was a good idea, and it sounds like a good idea, and I'm still in support of it. But the simple fact of the matter is that had we voted this through, we would have had people in July, August, and September would have automatically started getting their increments again, because to vote this amendment that I wanted to do in, we would have had to suspend the other parts of the resolution, and therefore it would have let the increments automatically take place. This would have created a situation where, maybe several employees, maybe over 100, 200, to get increments, while everybody else in the same year would not get increments. So sadly, we're not able to do that. So I wanted to explain that first. Second,
I wanted us to agree as a council, because there are a couple of things that I found out through this process that I didn't know, and I've been here a lot of years, not as long as Councilman Garrett, but I've been here a lot of years, and I found out a couple of things, and that's the beauty part about our process, because we have public hearings. Employees can come up and talk to us, give us information. I found this out, and I didn't know. MDHA employees that hire in as repair workers, go out and maintain properties, they hire in at $10 an hour, while a general Metro employee doing basically the same job hires in at $15 an hour. Basically, they're the same job description, but a different classification. So I think that's something that I would like us to ask the mayor's office to look at. You know, they may not have known about that, but I think that's a situation that we can repair. If we've got two different groups underneath the same government doing the same job, they should at least be paid the same. I think that's fair. Here's something else that I didn't know. I didn't know really that we still had workers working for Metro at the lowest end of the scale that are below the poverty level. Now, to me, I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a good precedent to set. I think we can do something about that. It's too late this council, because we kind of found out about this at the budget public hearing, you know, so we've done a good job on other things, but I want us to commit to work together in the mayor's office. I hope they'll commit to rectifying that situation. We get caught up on living wage a lot. And unfortunately, when that word or term is brought up, half the people tune out and the other half tune out, because we know it's not going to go anywhere. So the way I think we can logically get through this is just the mayor's office, through a simple classification, can just say, we're going to equalize these two different groups that are doing the same work. We're going to pay them the same. I think that's a fair way to do it. Then we do away with the living wage contentious debate, and people get paid what they're supposed to pay. So I'm proud to be a member of this council, and I hope that you will join me in asking the mayor's office to work on this with us and report back that they are working and what their plan is to rectify this situation. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this, as it's important to me. I know it's important to you too. Unfortunately, we just couldn't do exactly what we wanted to do this time, but next time, the folks that are left, I hope you'll push that through, because I know it means a lot to those folks back there and a lot of others. So thank you.
Before we adjourn, I have a couple of announcements. Catherine Dominy, wife of Councilmember Dwayne Dominy, is at home and recovering. And our own Mr. Cooper, John Cooper, is at home, and he is recovering well. I think everyone got his thank you note. And at the end of this meeting, the Urban Council will meet Berry, Stein, and Maynard. And is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye.